Hello, welcome to the BCMG monthly meeting. Thank you for coming to our February monthly meeting. Glad everybody could be here. My name is Scott Peacock, and I will be your host today. We have a great guest speaker and a lot to cover today, so let's get started. As a reminder, our mission is to provide research-based, locally relevant horticultural education and service. Let's start the meeting today with some announcements of events that are coming up. Make sure everyone's up to date on that. First, as we mentioned last time, Cultivate starts this month. All sessions are online, and we have a great lineup of speakers, which we shared with you last time. You can go to our website for more info and to register. This is a great event. I encourage all of you to attend and earn your continuing education credits by doing it. Announcing this again, we're continuing the AgriLife Extension's gardening series on Earthkind Backyard Basics. It's the last Friday of every month. David will be talking about your spring vegetable garden this month. Cost and registration info is on our website, and you can see the upcoming talks on the slide. Another series in conjunction with some local nurseries is called Gardening with David. That's also started. David will be out in the community talking on a variety of gardening topics. I'm sure there's one near you, so please check it out and you can see a great list of things David will be out there talking about. I'm sure there's one near you. Give you a sec to look through those. And our next Lunch and Learn will be this Friday at the A&M Extension Classroom. Our Speakers Bureau will be presenting Starting Your Spring Vegetable Garden this Friday at noon at the Extension office. As a bonus, we are doing a plant sale at the Lunch and Learn, and we'll be selling tomatoes and rosemary. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to David Rodriguez to talk a little bit about that sale and other items.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Scott. So we are still going forward. We're not at the rodeo. Unfortunately, we weren't invited back, but a few changes out there at the rodeo grounds. But they are continuing to do the Youth Gardens grant, and they even increased it. So that's good news too. So a little bit about the rodeo tomato. This is HM. Not Her Majesty like the Royal Navy, but Harris Moran, which is a numbered series from that breeder, HM 8148. And as we know, we try to trial these tomatoes at least 3 years locally and around the different areas around the state. And then we come up with this horticulture excitement with this rodeo tomato. So y'all will have some for sale this coming Friday. So hopefully everyone has an opportunity to come by the extension office for this Friday's brown bag lunch and learn and try it. Remember, these are determinate bush type varieties. They grow, they flower, they're in and out. Fall and spring is the same recommendation for planting. Spring, we're usually finished by June or 4th of July because it's, as y'all know, it's way too hot. An excellent sugar to acid ratio and quantity and quality of production as well. So see y'all Friday, and we hope everyone does try this tomato as the other ones in the past. And then, of course, go to Dr. Jerry Parsons' plantanswers.com. Very similar to the Bobcat tomato. And then you have other tomatoes on the process of potting them up. Just follow those guidelines so you have neighborhood bragging rights for the first tomatoes on the block. A few other comments and announcements. For many years, we would give away, or the nurseries would be selling little packages of Crawford reseeding lettuce. We've taken a little bit different approach. So Millburgers and Rainbow Gardens and some of the nurseries here in the next week or two will have plants for sale. So if you've never grown Crawford reseeding lettuce, either in a traditional garden or a container, very good quality taste. But the goal here is for y'all to let some of these bolt and flower and collect seeds, bring them back to the office so we can continue this heritage of this heirloom variety. So if you want to learn more about that whole process of planting and harvesting the seed, do go to Dr. Jerry Parsons plantanswers.com on the Crawford reseeding lettuce. Going almost 20 years now. We've been doing the 1200 WOAI Lawn and Garden Show. This coming Saturday, we're changing the hours. We start at 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., 3 hours on Saturday. We have a new general promotions manager, which is very, very proactive. So a lot of great things will be happening. So all the weekend gardeners are early birds. So please listen and spread the word, and maybe even call in at that hour this Saturday from 6:30 to 6:45. Dr. Greg Grant will be calling in as a special guest, so you might want to listen to at that time. Some challenges at the extension office. Andres Vidagan, A&M at its best, will be leaving Wednesday. So we'll be missing Andres and trying to fill that youth gardens position. And we've also, our 4-H agent has moved on. So lots on our plate. So we always rely on you guys when we're in these pinches to get us through them. And like the March 1st Spring Youth Gardens training. So we got good people in the right places. Thank y'all for helping that. And then we'll be starting our big military grant here at Lackland here in the near future for spring. So more details on that as well. So I just wanted to kind of cover a little bit about that. Thank y'all for all y'all do. And as Scott showed, a lot of CU opportunities that I'm offering, as well as keep an eye on what's happening out there. Remember, we have a new board, so go through your leads first, just like the military. Don't be inundating the board with this or that. So there's a lot of protocol. And remember, if there's anything bad or negative, let's find out a solution and let's fix it as one. Okay. So thank y'all for all y'all do. A great presenter today, Mitch Haney with the San Antonio Food Bank. And it's all, Scott, it's all yours now. Thank you guys.
All right, thanks, David. Appreciate it. So our guest speaker today is actually Torin Metz, the Farm Operations Coordinator at the San Antonio Food Bank. The food bank manages 75 acres of farmland within the city, including 50 acres at Mission San Juan, which has been called the oldest grocery store in Texas. This year, they plan to grow over 100,000 pounds of vegetables as the largest farm in San Antonio. Please welcome Mr. Metz.
Hello, everybody. Give me a second here to get my screen up for a couple slides. Really glad to be here and to be asked to speak here. Mitch couldn't make it. He is out of town, but I'm here in his stead. So let me just let's see. I need to share my screen. Bear with me here. Getting there. All right. Does that work for everybody?
Yes, it's good.
All right. So yeah, my name is Torin Metz. I've been, I'm a huge fan of the Bexar County Master Gardeners and A&M and everybody. We've got, I make sure everywhere I work we have some of the resources up on the wall, the planting schedules and everything. We're always looking at the recommended varieties to see what grows well here. So thank you all for being a part of this organization and keeping it going and doing this good work. I've been working at the food bank for about a year, but my experience growing vegetables and gardening and farming in San Antonio goes back about 10 years. And I've worked with various organizations, but the food bank has been a particularly interesting place to enter. The mission of the food bank is to fight hunger in Southwest Texas, and they do that through food distributions, programs, education, and advocacy. And so everybody knows the food bank for handing out food for these distributions. You know, during COVID, everybody saw the pictures of the mega distributions at Traders Village and how mind-boggling those looked. But there's a lot more that they do. We also do workforce training. So they're actually getting people skills through the warehouse, forklift certifications, through culinary training to get into better paying jobs. They also have a whole nutrition education program. And a big thing they do is summer feedings. So when schools are out, they've got a kitchen that preps meals and gets them out to schools and libraries. So kids that need them can have meals, lunches through the summer. I also do benefits enrollment, which they help people get connected with SNAP and kind of navigate WIC and all these systems out there that provide benefits. We also have a really cool program called Hunters for the Hungry, where they're actually butchering venison. People are donating deer that they're hunting, and the food bank has a processing center. They're turning that into ground venison and getting it out to people through the distribution systems. If you want to know more, check out the San Antonio Food Bank. This a lot of this stuff I didn't know about until I started working there. So, um, check out more if you're interested. There's a lot of cool things going on at the food bank. We also have a farm program, which I'm a part of. We are a small but mighty team of 5 people that are managing all this. Definitely an offshoot of all the operations at the food bank, but the program goes back about 10 years, and it's been it's kind of gone through different phases. It was started at the site of the food bank, which here's a map of San Antonio. You can see the SAFB Urban is kind of where the first site of the San Antonio Food Bank farm is, which is right next to their distribution warehouse. And what's interesting about that site is it's actually the Vandewally farmland, which is Belgian immigrants from the 1800s kind of came here and started farming this area. And so it's farmland that was kind of reclaimed by the food bank when it started this farm in 2010. And Mike Persane was one of the founding members of this farm. He's a very talented individual, incredible farmer, and he's the guy who got this program off the ground. And it's about 30 acres. They've developed it to irrigate it from cisterns that catch rainwater and AC condensate from the warehouse. We also have city water that kind of goes out to that farm. It's been fallow for a couple years, but here's actually closer picture of the actual land at the San Antonio Food Bank Urban Farm. But we actually broke ground on it today. So we're actually in the process of revitalizing this farmland and getting it productive. We're aiming to put some tomatoes and eggplant and peppers in early March. So we're excited about that. We're going to get this land reactivated. So the whole farm team, the farm and garden team at the food bank, really was created to do a couple of things. First off, produce food, right? We're producing food that can go into any of the San Antonio Food Bank's distribution streams. So if whatever we can grow, we can basically take it right to the warehouse, and it goes out to either a partner agency distribution, their curbside distribution, or even their nutrition program. So the cool thing about this program is like we're not scrambling to try to get rid of this stuff. We can grow as much as we want, and they can pretty much absorb it. The other thing we're trying to do is provide volunteer and educational opportunities. We offer pretty regular group volunteer sessions, which you can find on our website. We also have a small but mighty group of what we call Apple Corps volunteers that return and volunteer weekly. We also are trying to commit ourselves to research and experimentation for climate resilient crops, for adapting to heat, for adapting to these unstable winters. So we're trying to allocate time and energy to play with different varieties and try things out that A&M is recommending, and hopefully, as we develop this, share those results with the public and with fellow growers and gardeners and farmers. But yeah, ultimately, we think food production can provide valuable lessons and experiences. It can create healthy eating habits through these personal connections. It can empower gardeners and producers by showing and sharing best practices, which is what it's where we're hoping to get. The other site we farm, which you can see on the map, MSJ Farm, is actually at Mission San Juan. It's a very interesting site. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, established by the Spanish in 1720. There's evidence of extensive agriculture happening at the site of all the missions, but specifically at San Juan in 1772, it was documented that 96 acres were in cultivation, and up to 500 acres until the 1920s were cultivated around Mission San Juan. So that whole, oldest grocery store thing is kind of alluding to this long agricultural history that this land has. A really interesting facet of Mission San Juan is the irrigation system, which here's a little map, overhead map of Mission San Juan and the fields we're growing in. But the irrigation comes from an acequia system. An acequia is basically Spanish word for an irrigation canal. It's hand dug, it's gravity fed. There's a dam that branches water off from the San Antonio River. The water follows the contours of the river downstream, and along that pathway, as it goes back to the river, it can be used to flood irrigate agricultural land. And so the San Juan acequia is still running, and we are actually able to draw water from it. Our farmland has a pump that we can pull water from for drip irrigation. We also have a couple of demonstration plots where we're still utilizing flood irrigation. The San Juan acequia was built in 1731. It's 3 miles long. It was restored in 2011 to be flowing again. So if we look back, here's a kind of overview of the acequia, and you can kind of see the blue line cutting through here is the acequia, and you'll see these rectangles that are coming off, and those would have been individual allotments and farm plots that would have been allotted to folks, and they could flood irrigate with that irrigation water. Mission San Juan has these few demonstration fields, which are at the north side of the property. We have 2 areas for orchards out there, about 5 acres of peach orchards and 5 acres of figs that were planted within the last year. The peach orchard is staggered planting. Some of the trees are about 8 years old. We have field crops that we grow out there. We've grown tomatoes, eggplants, squash, tomatillos, melons, radish, turnips, beets, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage. And we're primarily doing that in 3 fields that equal roughly 10 acres of actual growing space. And here's some of the stuff. These are some of the cabbage we grew about 3 weeks ago. We started harvesting. We've got about 1 acre left to harvest. We'll have pulled about 60,000 pounds of cabbage from these fields when all is said and done. We had a good crop of cauliflower this year, eggplant before that, kind of a mixed variety there. And then going back in time, we had our warm season, summer squash, more eggplant, peppers, tomatoes, and our peaches actually did quite well, and kind of bearing fruit last year. Our growing strategy out there, the way we're able to do this is through our equipment. We're utilizing a large tractor and now a mid-sized tractor. So we have a large tractor for doing a lot of the heavy lifting and groundwork, and a smaller tractor that's kind of going in behind and doing some of the more delicate things like seeding. We have a transplanter, which it makes planting out a lot easier. Two people can sit on the back and pop plants in the ground, and we have a seeder that makes things pretty quick as well. We're using mechanical cultivation is kind of a change we've made in the past year for weed control that we're feeling good about, especially in the fall winter months. We've been able to stay on top of our weeds with mechanical cultivation, so using tines and discs and finger weeders to kind of control the weeds. And the other big piece of equipment we're really leaning towards right now is pictured here. There's our big tractor, and we actually have a no-till grain drill, which we are really hoping to implement cover cropping as a way to manage fertility in our fields without having to bring in compost or all that stuff. We're hoping to actually do some crop rotation and utilize this no-till drill to make that happen. Here's a picture of the mechanical cultivation system. It's a steerable cultivator. You can see it just hooks right up to a tractor, and you're able to just drive over those crops and kind of tool everything and adjust everything to miss your main crop and get really close to it and get as many of the weeds out as possible in one swoop. Another way we're able to do this is through standardization. So we kind of went in the past year, went through a really hard look at fine details of how wide our walkways are, how wide our beds are, our plant spacing, our seeding density, and that has really made a big result in our yields. We've been able to have a better luck with weed control through really standardizing all this spacing and really thinking about how our equipment fits the spacing and the needs of our workload. So we've actually decided to do some wide walkways and to take out some land that we could be farming so that we could drive a truck through so that we can make harvesting easier for certain crops. And so we're starting to make these decisions about spacing and standardization that are really, I think, paying off for us so far. And yeah, we cover cropping is already happening, but we need to do it a bit more. It had been done at the food bank in the past, but we're really wanting to lean on cover cropping to help with weed management, also to increase the diversity of plant species that are moving through these fields and to get organic matter into our soils and on top of the soils to increase soil health. The other thing we utilize is drip irrigation. It's really efficient. We have noticed that there are a lot of challenges. There's a lot of labor for setting, retrieving. Drip tape is expensive. On the scale we're working, we're really trying to create a system where we can reuse it, and that's been quite challenging. So we're still working on that. Happy to share the results as we figure it out. Another thing we've been utilizing is plastic mulch, which is basically plastic that we can lay over the beds to help with weeds. Particularly in the spring, we've found that the weeds are quite ferocious. So it has been a tool in the spring to deal with that. The challenges are cost. It's another cost input. It's quite a lot of work to remove, we've noticed, and it's just kind of wasteful. It requires a trip to the dump. So we're going to be utilizing it this spring, but we're kind of weighing the pros and cons, and we're probably just going to start applying it more judiciously going forward. The other thing that makes this all work is our volunteers, like I mentioned earlier. For the scale that we're on, we're really trying to simplify what our group volunteers do, and so we've really had success just focusing on a few focus sessions of hand weeding. So we'll do some mechanical cultivation, and then we'll have a group go through and kind of get anything we couldn't get with the mechanical cultivation. And that's really paid off. And then these large harvest mobilizations, we could not do it without the volunteers. For example, we had about 70 people come out for our cabbage harvest, and we were able to get it done in about 3 hours. So the food bank is great about mobilizing volunteers. We're pretty much able to fill volunteer slots as as needed, given enough advance warning, of course. The other thing is our Apple Corps, so our returning volunteers, they're able to help us with more delicate kind of greenhouse tasks and more skilled kind of day-to-day tasks. But yeah, here's a picture of some cover crops. And I would be glad to open it up for any questions or comments or anything I want to discuss further.
Thank you. We do have a couple questions for you already. Appreciate that.
Sure.
Bonnie's asking, I assume talking about the food bank. Do they take wild hog for processing?
No. So that it becomes a bureaucratic kind of nightmare when we incorporate wild hog. You need a federal inspection, which I guess a federally inspected facility to process wild hog. It's actually something we're looking into, but from my understanding, you have to basically build an office space and pay for a federal inspector to be able to come to your facility. So you have to build out a spot and pay them the fees for the inspection. So it's quite expensive. The interesting thing that they're trying to do is open up the Hunters for the Hungry, the deer processing facility, to other sorts of so say there's a rancher or something that has some cows or some other animals. They want to try to create some sort of cooperative system to where they could allow other ranchers to bring in small amounts of animals to process, but it's still kind of up in the air, and it's just dealing with those bureaucratic things, But right now it's just deer, which is it's a little unfortunate because that's only a small portion of the year that facility is utilized. So they're working on expanding, but we'll have to see where it goes.
All right, thank you. Anyone, if you have any questions, you can put them in the Q&A. We do have a few questions coming up, but if you have any questions, drop it in the Q&A and we'll get to it. Cindy's asking, do you rotate crops every season?
Yes, we do. We haven't finalized a crop rotation quite yet, but we've got about 70 acres. So the thing we do have on our side and that we're trying to leverage is the space that we have. And so we're really trying to have a long-term plan of rotating our bulk crops, so our monocultures, to where there'll be a monoculture in say like our cabbage. We did about 3 acres of cabbage. That cabbage is going to be planted as one crop, and that land will then get cover cropped and will rest, the rest of the year. So that's where we'd like to get. We're still trying to figure out what works for us. So the answer is we're working on it.
Cindy also asked, is there any concern about the breakdown of plastic mulch that you're using getting into the soil?
Absolutely. I'm concerned about that. I'm a pretty OCD kind of person, and it bugs me that we cannot it seems nearly impossible to get all of the plastic out without, there's going to be scraps, and no matter how thorough we are, it seems to leave a residue no matter what you do. So that's one big reason I want to get away from it. They do make biodegradable plastics, but they become more expensive. And then it gets to a point where we're not sure if that cost is worth it. We're really hoping to move away from plastics over time. And I think the way we want to do that is through those crop rotations, through cover cropping, through some solid weed management strategies. But I think it's going to take us some time. Right now, we're dealing with a pretty aggressive seed bank for weeds on all of our sites.
Okay, great. Thanks. Glenn and Cindy are asking, what cover crops are the most successful?
Well, we've been using a lot of multi-species mixes. In the cool season, I guess just an easy answer. In the cool season, kind of winter rye and winter peas or Austrian winter peas have worked really well for us. And in the warm season, I really like buckwheat. It's very quick. It's very easy to terminate. It flowers really, within like 20, 30 days. Um, sun hemp is another good one for the warm season. Yeah, and then Sudan grass, all the sorghums and all that stuff can work too. But I think a really easy one would be for the warm season would be buckwheat and cowpeas.
Great, thank you. Now I was asking, can we coordinate getting BCMG volunteer hours by working in the food bank garden? I'm not sure the history of that. If we've tried that before, maybe Butch can add some color on that one. BCMG volunteer hours for working in the food bank garden.
I'm not aware that we've done that in the past.
Okay, well, we can certainly look
Well,
in.
yeah, we'd love to coordinate some sort of partnership with y'all. We'd love to have anybody out to volunteer, and if we could make it work for what y'all are doing, it would be great for us. And likewise, I know a lot of the master gardeners and the food bank farm had a pretty strong relationship in the past, but things change, people change. So, but we're willing to forge a new relationship with everybody and make something work.
Great. Muriel is saying we did volunteer out there one time, but and we've used, and Karen said we did use those volunteer hours in the past, but we'll look into it and see what the history of that is and what we can do going forward. Danny's asking if you can share roughly how many families does the urban farm positively impact?
That's a really difficult question. Yeah, it's hard to say. So yeah, I don't think I could really answer that in a meaningful way without stretching too much. I'll say that in reality, the San Antonio Food Bank they're probably going to move about something like 90 million pounds of food, right? And that's canned goods, that's fresh stuff, that's whatever sodas you're even counted in some of that, right? And we're going to produce about 100,000 pounds of produce, most of which is like a vast majority of is going into that system. So in the grand scheme of who the food bank serves, we're kind of we're not contributing a ton, right? But we're really trying to focus on creating the system that can produce fresh produce. So we're trying to figure out what the needs are for these families, right? And so what is the warehouse not getting? And we've noticed one thing they don't get a lot of is like leafy greens, because guess what? They don't weigh anything and they go bad pretty quickly. So going forward, we're really trying to figure out how we can expand our impact by providing things that people can't get but need or want, and things that are like highly nutritious. So I don't know. Sorry for that. Doesn't really answer that question, but
No, thank you very
best I
much.
can do.
All right, Torn, I think that's all the questions we have for now. We really appreciate you being on and helping us out and understand this better. So appreciate your time. And
Yeah, no
thank you.
problem. Thanks for having me.
Karen, you have your hand raised. I'm not sure how to get you to call them. If you want to just put your question in the Q&A, we can get to that. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and let you go, Torn. Thank you very much for your help. I appreciate it. And letting us share your vision here. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All righty. Thanks, y'all. I really appreciate it. Y'all take care.
All right, next up, our Vice President Butch is now going to give us an update on our Champions for Charity. Butch?
Okay, currently we have deposited $21,139.49 into the Champions for Charity fund. The next drop date for donations is 24 February. Right now, it looks like we have approximately $2,684 to put in there. But anybody that has anybody can donate, and you can hit your neighbors up, your friends. We're doing scholarships, and the money goes back to help all aspects of the Bexar County Master Gardeners. The links are in the leaflet and the scion, so you can't miss it. For everybody that's donated so far, thank you very much. Are there any questions?
All right, thanks, Butch. Appreciate it. If we get any questions, I'll ask on that. All right, now Linda's going to give us an update on our financials. Linda?
Okay, in January, we had income of $5,319, and that's from SAW reimbursement, speakers bureaus, dues, donations. We had $1,000 of interest income, so our total income was about $6,320. Our expenses, payroll taxes, and normal, office cost was $3,291. So our net profit for January was $3,028.10.
All right,
So that,
thank you very much. One of the most important ways BCMG gives back to our community is through our scholarship program. This year, we're going to give out 3 $2,000 scholarships to deserving students. The application window is now open through April 30th. If you know someone who may qualify, please send them to our website for more information. And to give you an idea of some of the qualifications, I'll let you read that. Again, if you know somebody who might fit in this category, please have them reach out. We've added an additional scholarship, so now we're giving out 3 this year. It's a great program. Get $2,000. We're giving out to 3 different students. Please encourage them to apply if you know somebody. Thank you. David mentioned this. I don't think he realized we had a slide on it, but this is the seed he was asking people to collect. It's the Crawford lettuce seed. So he's asking if some of you would go and purchase the Crawford lettuce from your local nurseries, grow the lettuce, collect the seeds, and then give the seeds to the extension office. And then we will give those, David will give those seeds to Peterson's and give transplants to the public. So again, it's just reiterating what David had mentioned at the top of the program. Crawford lettuce. All right, next month, our guest speaker will be the famous John Thomas, founder and president of Wild Seed Farms in Fredericksburg. You don't want to miss that. That's March 17th, 1 p.m. in person at the Botanical Gardens next month. Hope you can join us for that. For this month, please use code 002 in BMS to get your credit for your continuing education. And that's all the program we have. If you have any questions, if you again leave those in the Q&A. I don't think we have any more at this time. I'll give it just a second. Any of my panelists have anything to add?
I do.
I didn't.
The membership cards went out in the mail this morning, so I know people are waiting on those. So I printed them to expire February 28th, 2026. So we have an extra month next year.
Thank you, Linda. It's great. Butch?
Yeah, I have something. Many of you know Jorge Navarrola who leads the Children's Vegetable Garden at the Sabbath, underwent shoulder replacement surgery today. It was a longer surgery than expected, but he was in recovery and doing fine. So I just wanted to pass that on to everybody. Put him in your thoughts and prayers.
Thanks, Butch. Caroline's asking, is this monthly meeting a CE hour or volunteer hour? It is a CE hour. CE hour. You need 10 credits for the year, so this is one of them if you've attended this session. If you have any questions? The code for today's meeting, Cindy's asking what the code for today's meeting. It is 002. And just put the speaker's name and monthly meeting in the top and the description. Okay, so we have any other questions? All right, I think that's it. Thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate it, and we'll see you again next time.